Before the outbreak of the conflict in November 2020, all sectors in Tigray, including education, exhibited impressive growth. There were 2,221 primary schools, 271 secondary schools, with students having to travel an average of just 2.5 kilometers and 7.06 kilometers to access primary and secondary education, respectively. 2 teachers' colleges in Abiy Adi and Adwa would produce qualified educators to lead this growing number of educational institutions across the state. More than 1.4 million children were enrolled in education. Net enrollment rate for grade 1 and primary education was over 80% and 85%, respectively. The Gender Parity Index showed that close to half of students across Tigray were girls at 0.99. The section-to-student ratio was 1:39, and the textbook-to-pupil ratio reached 1:2. Even before the outbreak of the conflict, the Ethiopian government would refuse to provide essential supplies to students in Tigray, denying students in Tigray face masks that were freely distributed to students in other parts of Ethiopia. Preliminary damage assessment conducted by Tigray's Bureau of Education in collaboration with local and international NGOs and Tigray Teachers Association across 2,054 schools in August of 2021 found that over 85% of classrooms were partially or fully damaged. Over 60% of textbooks, 85% of computers, 80% of plasma TVs, close to 85% of laboratory equipment, over 95% of desks and blackboards, more than 83% of supplementary materials, and assistive technologies for the children with special needs were either looted or destroyed by invading forces. The level of destruction on educational facilities was so intense that it has taken Tigray back over 30 years, with the average distance to access primary education in Tigray growing by 3-folds to 7.3 kilometers from 2.5 kilometers before the conflict. The same is true for secondary education, where the average rate a student would have to travel to access secondary education growing to 17 kilometers, significantly reversing gains made over the past 17 years to bring that number down to 7 kilometers. Similarly, the gross enrollment rate for primary schools stood at over 85% in the year 2020, but stands at 20% in the year 2022. Textbook pupil ratio is now at 1:9. Section student ratio stands at 1:434 and 1:365 in primary and secondary schools, respectively. Negash Secondary School, found in Kilta Ulu district in eastern Tigray, is one of the schools that has suffered significant damage. This is Gabra Abbay, a resident of the small town of Negash. He says he witnessed how the school was damaged.
بناء أبي سراويت ونور يسمو يوم كان دقن إرترا سراويت يفريسو نإرترا سراويت كم تري يقول لهم من مسح هذا قول نقر يلهم عاوزين ما تقرنتين نارا نشعيتو خورس أنتلست قرنتين نارا سقولوا لتبيت مرتي كورس دليل سلزن هراي إيه تنا تقصة بق أصوات أقول عجير وني تري يقول لهم بلازم زنا نارا مصحفت نارا موضوع حتى في قاصيلو نحن خمسي زل أرمينا ولخنا سرحون رينا سمعنا وين نفلتي.
Negash Primary School, also located in the town of Negash, was built with the support of the government and people of Ireland, also the target of deliberate destruction. Abiy Adi Teachers and Education Leaders College was one of 2 teachers' education colleges across Tigray. Today, we find it in absolute shambles. The Declaration on Child Rights obliges states to ensure that every child has access to quality education. But children in Tigray, due to deliberate destruction of schools and withholding of basic services, have not only been denied access to education, but also their right to life. The deliberate and systematic destruction of educational facilities in Tigray has also included the destruction of schools for students with special needs, having visual, hearing, physical, and mental impairments. This is Maqala Boarding School for the Blind, established in 1993. The school had enrolled hundreds of visually impaired students from across the state for both boarding and out-of-school services. The school principal, Solomon Araya, says the situation is starkly different today.
ቅድሚ ኩናት ዝነበሩና ተምሃሮ ማለት ኢና ሕዚ ንዛረቦም ዘለና ማለት 59 ካብ ቀዳማይ እስካብ 4 ነይሮምና ካብ 37 ካብ 50 እስካብ 8 ነይሮምና 38 ካብ 9 እስካብ 12 ክፍሊ ነይሮም እዚኣቶም ስሩዕ መነባብሮኦም ፅቡቅ ምሁሮ እናተምሃሩ ዝፀንሑ እዮም ብሰንኪ እቲ ኩናት ግን እዞም ተምሃሮ እዚኣቶም ኣበይ ከም ዘለዉ ንፈልጦም ይንኽእልና ሕዚ ማለት እዩ ተበቲኖምና እዮም
Million Miskina is one of the students of Maqala Boarding School. She explains the holistic support and care the school used to provide to students, like herself, with special needs.
ኣብዚ ብጣዕሚ ቁርሲ ምሳሕ ደራር ብስርዓት ብሰዓት ከኢኻ ትበልዕ ካብኡ ለፅሬትካ ብደንቢ እዮም ዝከታተሉኻ ካብኡ መደቀሲ ኢለ ፍሉይ እዩ ነንባዕንኻ ዓራትካ ትወሃብ ፅሩይ እዩ ማለት እዩ ካብዚ ተሓሚምካ ብጣዕሚ ዝከናኸንካ ተን ሰራሕተኛ ማለት እዩ ሕክምና ብኣጋና ይወስዳና ብኣጋና መድሓኒት ለውሕጣና ነይረን
Furthermore, Million witnessed that the students with visual impairment have faced various abuses and violations and are denied of their rights to education, which has glimmered their sense of hope.
ያው ኣነ ብዙሕ ጥቃዓት ክበፅሐኒ ምኮርያ ግን ባዕለይ ብጥንከርነት ግን እስካብ ሕዚ ምንም እናተበልክየ እናተጋደልክየ ማለት እዩ ካብዚ ግብም ተወፃኻስ ብዙሕ ሓደጋስ ይገጥመካ እዩ ማለት እዩ ያው ኣነ ተማሂረ ክኾን ዝደሊ ነርኩ ዓቃባይት ሕጊ ክኾን ዝምነ ነይረ ሕዚ ግን በቃ ትምህርቲ ምስ ኣቋረጥና ተሰማዕኒ ስምዒት ምንም በቃ ምስ ምንዳድ ምፅራፍ የኮይኑ ተኣሽሙና በቃ ካብ ትምህርቲ ዝወፀስ ምንዳድ እዩ ስምዒት በቃ ምንዳድ ኢና ንገልፆ ተኣሽሙ ኮይና ማለት ኣእምሮና ዝተፈላለየ ተኣሽሙ ፈጢሩ ጭንቀት ገለ ፈጢርና ማለት እዩ
This is the Amhan Primary School in Embasaneti in Central Tigray. In addition to the physical destruction on the school principal Birhane Gabretzahma says students and teachers were executed and those left behind are suffering from mental scars left from witnessing horrific atrocities.
ትምህርትና ሓደ መምህር ብዞም ወረርቲ ሻዕብያ ብልጽግናን ብኻራ ተሓሪዱ ተቐቲልና እዩ ሓደ ድማ ናይ ሕማም ሽኮር ሕማም ዝነበረ መምህር ነርና ብሰንኪ መድሓኒት ምሳኣኑ ሱን ካብዚ ዓለም ሞት ክፍልና ኸይሉ እዩ ብኻራ ዝሓረድዎ መምህር ተኸላይ ገረዝ ገር ደወሱ እዩ ዝበሃል እቲ ብሰንኪ መድሓኒት ሽኮር ህይወት ዝሓለፈ ድማ መምህር ክሮም ሃይላይ ገረዝ ገር እዩ ዝበሃል እቲ መምህር ተኸላይ ገረዝ ገር ደወሱ ዝበሃል ናይ ቤት ትምህርትና መምህር ዝነበረ እቶም ብልጽግናን ሻዕብያን ኣብዚኣ እዮም ሓሪዶም ቀቲሎሞ ኣብዚኣ ምደርዮም ኸይዶም ንኽቕበሩ እውን ክፈቕዱ ይከኣልን ኣይፈቐዱን ኣብዚኣ ተደርዩ ተዋና ዕላምኡ እዚ ድማ እቲ ናይቲ ከባቢ ዘሎ ማሕበረሰብን እቲ ተምሃራይን ረዓዲ ፈጢሩ ካብዚ ቤት ትምህርትን ካብዚ ዓዲ እዚ ንኽጠፍእ ንኽውገድን ዝሓዝዎ ዕላማ እዩ ነይሩ ማለት እዩ
Yodela Gabramariam, a grade 5 student at Abba Haile Mariam Primary School in Adwa Central Tigray, is now handicapped. She says her and her friends were playing on a field when they found a grenade amongst a rubble of rocks.
أنا كن كالي فنجي مسلم فنجي بني فلتن كاو نازق برها أنا سحسقوا برها أو سرهت أنا حسب بركو في الشوش يعني استعيل أفشيله نفط من لقعي هيدا كاو نفط مسلق أخو إيدي تاريخ إيدي أرسل
Yodela lost her fingers on her right hand, which has made it impossible to write using her right hand. Yodela is now learning to write with her left hand.
ويساسك ماري لنيرا ويقدام لنيرا ربي صحفينا على ما بيدني نيقولنا أي هنالك نادر رأتي أتصفن نيرا توسنا صحفكم تلما مودكم تلما يدين هذا كلتا سلسة
The damage inflicted on Shawat Hagun Primary School, Yetzila Abergele district in Central Tigray, was dreadful. The school's principal, Atzbaha Gabrakiro, says members of the community have been traumatized by what has unfolded in the school's compound.
از ቤት ትምህርቲ ከም ትሪእዎ ካብ በሪ እስካብ ውሽጢ እስካብ ደገ ጠቕላላ ዓነዎ ቤት ትምህርቲ ኣብ ውሽጡ እውን ዝተፈላለዩ ሬሳን ደምን ዓጽምን ዘዋሃለለ ቤት ትምህርቲ እዩ በዚ ምክንያት ከም ትሪእዎ ዘለኹም ከዓ ቅርጽ ናይቲ ቤት ትምህርቲ ናይቲ መካበያ ብሙሉእ እውን ዝፈረሰ ከባቢ 40 ዝኣክሉ ሬሳታት ተቐርዎ ቤት ትምህርቲ እዩ በዚ ምክንያት እውን ብስነ ልቦንኡ ዝተሃሰየ ተምሃራይን መምህርን ማሕበረሰብ ከባብን ተፈጢሩ እዩ ማለት እዩ ናይ 45 ዓመት መረዳእታ ዝነበረ ህይወት ናይ ተምሃሮን ህይወት ናይቶም ዘምሃሩ ወለድን አገልግሎት ዝህብ ዝነበረ ዜሮ ምንም መረዳእታ ዘይብሉ ብጸላእቲ ሻዕብያ ዝተቃጸለ እዩ ድፋዕ ወይ ከዓ ማዕስከር እዩ ነይሩ ቤት ትምህርቲ አውዚ ተተኺሎም ዝነበሩ ብዙሓት ዝተፈላለዩ መሰራያታት ነይሮም ሕዚ እውን ኣለዉ ማለት እዩ ኣይፈለጥናዮም ነይተፈተሸ
Kuhila Gauratinzai and Inzesh Gabramha, students at the primary school, witnessed the destruction committed on the school.
ቤት ትምህርቲ ዓንዩ ወንበራት ተበላሹ ቶ ላይብረሪውን ተበላሹ እቲ ክላሳት ተቃጺሉ መጽሐፍትና እውን ተቃጺሉ ብሰንኪ ጸላእት እቃ ክንመሃር ዘይከኣልና ተጸላእ ሰንኪ ፈንጂ ሒዞም ዝሞቱ ዋተሎም ባዕሉ እውን ኣለዉ ስየ ሃይስላስ ዝበሃል እውን ኣሎ ዝመሃር ማቲ ሳሙኤል ገርኪዳን ዝበሃል ሻምና ክፍሊ ተምሃራይ ብሰንኮም ሞይቱ ማቲ ገብረ አረጋይ ገብረሃንስ ዝበሃል እውን ተሻዕ ክፍሊ ዝመሃር ዝነበረ ብሰንኮም ሞይቱ
ሓደ ክላስና ተበላሹ አቃጺሉ እሞ ካልኣይ ወንበርና ሰባዊሮም ሓጎንዲ ደሞ ሳልሳይ ብራክቦርድና መጽሐፍና ደፋተርና እውን አቃጺሉ እሞ ክላስ ደም ንዓጽኛ ቀጥራ ሬሳ ለውዝ መጽሓ ክትመሃርስ ጸገም
Members of the community in Shoat Tahgum, Haile Selassie Gebre Selassie and Tilvei Nagash, say it's not just the school that was damaged, but the environment as well.
ስነልቦና ጽዕንቶ ከቢድ ሕጊርና እዩ ተምዝአውቲ ይትረፍ ንኣና ንዓርትና ንዓበይቱ እውን ኣብዚ ቤት ትምህርቲ ክንኣቱ ክንቅልቀል ብጣዕሚ ከቢድ ኣሰቃቂ እዩ ኣሸጋሪ ነይሩ እቶም ህፃናት ድማ ካብ መሰረቱ ለ ዕርብርብ ክኸዱ እዮም ዕርብርብ ክኸዱ
ኣብዛ ቤት ትምህርቲ 8 ወርሒ ተቐሚጦም እዮም ዕንጨት ንዓዲ ወዲኦም ዕንጨቲ ጠረጴዛ እናሰወሩ እናፈለፁ ቆላሚጠስ እናፈረሰ እናተሰበረ ነዲዲ እዩ ተምሃረለ ብቡምባ እናተቐጥቀጠ ዝኸባብሽ ሞይቶም እዮም ቆልዑ ተምሃሮ
Shumiya Berha is one of the victims. He found a hand grenade while playing with his friends. His life hasn't been the same since.
كندي قلعو نيركم
كته
دحركه
تفنجير الحرب
تمسخا زنبره قلعخه
مويت سمه
Shumiya's mother, Zawda Hagos, remembers the day of her son's injury.
برخا يوفر مجمره ما حرب وفروا فاوقل توقع عم تهيلنا ما حكمنا توي مويتو تي لما حكمنا هايدا موسي دم امرقنا هو مزين
In addition to the systematic destruction of educational facilities across the state by Ethiopian forces and their allies from Eritrea, schools and colleges have been turned into crime scenes. Furthermore, a 9-month-long siege on the region is further devastating the civilian population, exposing Tigrayans to starvation as well as disease. This has completely wiped out decades of progress, denying basic services to Tigrayans everywhere.
The aggressors made all plannings. They conjectured necessary to commit genocide on the Tigrayan people. And damaging educational system and the educational infrastructure was their main focus to commit the genocide, all necessary genocide items on the Tigrayan people in short term and especially in long term. So that's why their main focus was made on educational systems and infrastructures. And they did it, actually. Even themselves unequivocally witnessed. Among the witnesses, we can simply listen and understand the speech by one of the military commanders of the fascist Abiy group called Ababaw Taddese.
ኢኮኖሚ ሴንተሩ ተመተረ መሰረተ ልማቱ በሙሉ ተመታ ዳትስ የጦርነቱ ዋና ዓላማ ነው
Pika Habisto, the special envoy for the European Union to the Horn, says he has heard Ethiopian authorities describe their intentions clearly.
For me, particularly the news of the violence against the women is incredible and something that probably not has happened in any wars or conflicts in that region. Maybe a word about what is the aim of Ethiopia. When I met the Ethiopian leadership in February, they really used this kind of language that they are going to destroy the Tigrayans, they are going to wipe out the Tigrayans for 100 years and so forth, which for me referred to very serious human rights atrocities and crimes as well if you wipe out your national minority. What is it? You cannot destroy all the people. You cannot destroy all the population in Tigray, and I think that's very obvious that we have to react, and because it looks for us like ethnic cleansing.
The destruction on educational facilities, the brutal killings, and the scar that has left on community members will be difficult to heal, according to Dr. Zenawi Zarihun, a psychologist.
Perhaps more important and worrying is the impact it has on what the kids have lost in terms of the developmental stage. The early childhood age is very critical in building the kids cognitively, especially the kindergarten year is important in shaping the child for the future assignments, for the future mathematical, scientific, and what have you concepts. So this is a very critical stage, and for the kids who were not able to attend school in this particular age, I mean, it's a very serious problem in terms of impacting the cognitive development of the kid. That is one. And the second one is when kids go to school, it's not just the academic content that they study. The social competence side is equally, if not more important, because children in schools are supposed to create friendships with others, you know, to solve problems, to compete, to communicate. All these things are possible when kids go to school. You cannot make him socially competent by keeping them at home. Most of the kids were talking about issues they were not supposed to talk at this age. They told us stories, horrible stories of witnessing dead bodies in the school compound. You can imagine. At this age, they were not supposed to tell us these kinds of horrific stories. They were supposed to study, to laugh, to talk about academic matters. But unfortunately, we listen to their heartbreaking stories, and that will have serious psychological implications for the years to come, unless we do our level best to do some kind of psychological support, psychiatric support, perhaps for some of the groups. I think we have a lot of work to do as a community.
Classrooms and schools were also left with hate speech on every wall and blackboard against the people of Tigray that go farther in demonstrating the genocidal intent of invading forces.